Welcome to our Salt Lake City Council meeting for Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. Entertain a motion that we officially begin.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. We'll start with a moment of silence. After that, Councilmember Smythe will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Join us in a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much.
Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we have some recognition of our employees. We're going to skip item A. Some of those employees couldn't make it tonight. We're going to go to item B, recognition of Ryan Johnson, Darren Ryan, Jonathan Giles, and TJ Stoker for a special delivery on March 1st, 2024. Chief West and/or Chief Story, please tell us what we got going.
Mayor, Council, thanks for just a minute here. We, on March 1st this year, Captain Ryan, Engineer Johnson, Firefighter Giles, and Firefighter TJ Stoker, who wasn't able to come tonight, went on a childbirth incident in the city. And we just wanted to recognize them. Most of the incidents that we respond on in the city are in a lot of ways negative in nature, as they involve sickness, an injury, or loss of life. On more of a rare occasion, these professionals get to be part of a new life or helping to save a new life. The incident on March 1st involved these 4 members performing their duties to care for an infant that came into the world, had some difficulty in breathing. These guys acted and cared quickly for that individual and that infant. And we just want to recognize them for these efforts with an official stork pin that they can display on their dress uniform, and just kind of recognize them for doing an awesome job on this incident.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think the name her after John, right?
Here's one. I'll give one. Chief, did they give you 2? Thank you, sir.
I was going to take a picture, guys. Return, please, and face the camera.
Yeah, I did that easy.
I'll get on the outside.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 5.
Thank you.
Well done. That stuff's exciting. Next is public comment. Opportunity to address Mayor and Council your concerns, suggestions, praise. Invite anybody to come up and address the council. Just tell us your name and what you're here about. Leonard, come on up.
My name's Leonard Nicholas. I live at 5728 South 900 East in the south part of the city. I addressed the city once before about this matter of the business license being issued to a person in my neighborhood, which is a residential neighborhood. The business license is for lawn mower and other types of yard maintenance. This report that the city gave when they issued the license says no heavy equipment may be parked or stored at the residence other than 1 truck of 1-ton capacity or less. The other thing it states is that neighbors must feel that the house is primarily a residence, not a business. The person that has the license, business license, he has either 3 or 4 trailers. 2 of them are those big box trailers. One is about a 20-foot open trailer he uses to haul equipment and sometimes refuge. The other's a smaller trailer. At any one time, there'd be 2 or 3 trailers in his driveway and one on the street. The trailers are such a length that they overlap the sidewalk, they won't go in the driveway. There's some special conditions that I should talk about. First of all, the property these people purchased, the backyard is fenced for a swimming pool. There's no way to put a trailer in the backyard unless they took down the fence. So everything is parked in the driveway. They have at least 4 vehicles, automobiles, plus 2 trucks, plus 4 trailers. The trailers, they rotate them between some other property they have. So there's only 1 or 2 trailers there, box trailers. Most of the time, one that's parked on the street. The people that own the property also own a property on about 5100 Adams, where they have a 4-car garage and a large backyard where they could park that their trailers. They have I assume that's where they keep the other trailers. They also have a vacant lot in Washington Terrace where sometimes they park the trailers. So they don't necessarily have to be parked on the street in our cul-de-sac. This is a cul-de-sac. The street comes in and makes a bend. Where their home is right on that bend. Didn't you visit them, Mayor?
I have.
Did you recognize that or not?
Yeah.
Where he parks his trailer?
Yeah, but it's also a cul-de-sac, so there's not like,
Was the trailer there when you?
yeah, cars coming in and out and back and
Yeah.
forth. I mean,
If-
that's all I'm saying.
If his trailer's parked there, a car can't come in and out at the same time. Only one car can pass through. Okay?
Okay.
The whole problem is, he isn't willing to drive his truck over to where his trailers are stored and then go to work. Instead of that, he has to park his truck on the street so he can walk out the front door and go to work. And not have to drive 1 mile to pick up his truck, whatever truck he's using. And as I say, it's a residential neighborhood. It's unsightly, to say the least. So that's my biggest problem. I don't understand why the city has an ordinance, but they don't enforce it. I'd like to mention one other thing related to that. I think the city has an ordinance that states that a travel trailer cannot be parked in the front yard of a residence. It has to be parked on the side of the house or in the rear. I took a little tour around this afternoon. I counted 8 trailers parked in the front of a house or on the street. Some were on the street, some in the driveway, not in accordance with the ordinance. So my question is, why do we have an ordinance?
You know why we have an ordinance. The problem becomes the enforcement of the ordinance. How much manpower do we want to put to that? How big of a deal are these things really? That's the real question, and we'll address that. So, I know one problem is there's also conflicting ordinances. If it's just somebody's truck and trailer and it's not for their business, part of the ordinance reads that's okay, but since it has a business thing on the side. So we're looking at deciding which ordinance we want to go to. And we'll see what we can do there. Leonard, I understand your frustration. Here's a kid trying to make a living, too, and it's a cul-de-sac. We're not having 2 cars going past each other all day, every day. You understand what I'm saying, too?
Yeah?
Okay, so we'll address it.
But the problem
Thanks for
is,
reminding us again. We'll follow up on that.
there's no lighting in that cul-de-sac, okay? So it becomes a bigger problem in the evening after dark.
And that's when he's usually parked there,
And he
correct?
doesn't put any kind of a cone or
Okay,
any lights or anything around the truck.
that's a good suggestion.
But the whole problem is, he's not willing, he has 2 trucks. He could very easily leave one truck at his residence, drive a mile to that Adams Avenue, 5100, or he could drive to the terrace to pick up his other truck with the trailer.
It's 4,100, but, yeah, okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Larry.
This also says neighbors must feel this home is primarily a residence and not a business. Okay? And it says the business will not use any space in an attached or unattached garage, building yard, or any space outside the building for his business, which they usually, when he has equipment to work on, it's either in the driveway he's working on it or in
The garage.
attached
Okay.
garage.
Okay. Legitimate concerns,
In my
Leonard.
opinion,
Thank
he's in
you.
violation of
Okay.
the ordinance.
Okay, we'll follow up, promise.
I think you had one other neighbor, Carl,
Did.
talk to you.
Yeah.
One of the problems is the next door neighbor, this person that parks, he's on one side of Carl's house. On the other side is the guy's brother, so he's not gonna complain about his problem. Anyway, I wonder what the city could do, if anything, but.
We'll follow up,
that's my
promise you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comment? Oh, I didn't mention online. If you're online, I'll give about 3 or 4 minutes to add a public comment if you'd like to. We'll invite Danielle to come up, please. Mr. Gailey's going to introduce our newest employee.
So this is Danielle Bendinelli. She's been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, getting us all ready for South Ogden Days. We had planned to introduce her a couple meetings ago, but actually, I think it was the last meeting. It was the last meeting, but it didn't work out for us. So I'll let her just tell a bit about herself. She's doing a fantastic job. She comes highly recommended. I don't think I've spoken with anybody in Weaver County who doesn't know and speaks very highly of her, so we are very fortunate to have her, and I'll let her tell you more about herself.
Thank you. Thanks, Danielle.
Thanks, Doug. I'll give you $5 later. Okay. No. Hi, Danielle Bendinelli. So this is my first foray into working for a municipality. I come from the retail management marketing world, most recently at Station Park in Farmington. I was with Layton Hills Mall for a very long time, but also worked in events and development. I was the director of the Ogden Arts Festival for many, many years. I'm on the board of Onstage Ogden, so this all just seemed like a good idea. I'm a South Ogden resident, have been for 15 years, so love it here. And we have a couple things happening this weekend. I don't know if you're familiar with it. South Ogden Days, happening both Friday and Saturday. We have a lot of candy for you guys in the back room, so grab your candy for the parade. And I'm excited to be here and see what challenges and what I can take on after this weekend. So, anything
Okay,
else?
thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate
And Mayor, she's doing an outstanding job in that.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great event for us.
Agreed, yep, she's hit the ground running and some great ideas, so appreciate her. Magnets for the parade for the new council members? Anyway, they'll be in touch. Good call. Okay, item 5 is our consent agenda, approval of the May 21st, 2024 council minutes. Also ratification of a Class C beer license for Wendy Sukiyaki, 3009 Riverdale Road. Been there for a long time, there's new ownership. Also advice of consent of appointment of Pete Caldwell to the Planning Commission. I should have had you come up first, Pete, my fault. And then also the advice of consent of appointment of Peter Andrewen as Director of Finance. And Peter's here too. Pete, I'll invite you up. Just introduce yourself and then, Pete Caldwell first and then Peter second. That's, we got too many. We got Doug's, we got Pete's, we got.
Hey everyone, I'm
We
Pete
can
Caldwell.
number those,
I'm a South Ogden City resident, have been for almost 7 years now. Was just up the road in Ogden for the 5 years before that. What's relevant? I really enjoy living in South Ogden. I think it's a very responsive and proactive government, and that's really awesome to me. I think that there's a lot of attention paid to the residents, and I just wanted to be a part of that momentum in any capacity. I work for the state, oversee some integration of physical and behavioral health programming, also deal with homeless services and low-income housing. So, community support development is something that I'm just really interested in, and looking forward to taking this next step and doing it a little bit more at a local level.
Okay, awesome, Pete. And you saw his resume in the packet. Just all around going to be a great asset to our planning commission if you approve. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Doug, Peter, come on up.
Mayor, Council, this is Peter Angewerden. He comes to us from the state of Utah, Department of Commerce, the finance director there, I believe. So we put them through a very rigorous interview process, and he came out on top. We did interview with all the department heads, and it was unanimous that he was our new guy. And so we're excited to see what he brings, and I'll let him tell you about himself.
Thanks.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Mayor Porter. Peter Angewerden, I think it's a requirement of the job to have a difficult name, right? And that's fine.
I was saying Steve somehow got, what did he do with his email, so it wasn't as difficult. Oh, yeah, Steve L. So we can probably pull something like
I think
that
that's
off
a
for
great
you too,
plan.
if you'd like.
Definitely. So, just a little bit about me. I have an MBA from the University of Utah. I spent a couple years in the private sector working for a company called Orbit Irrigation, just doing analytics and stuff for them. Since then, I've been in state government with the Utah Department of Commerce. We have about a $50 million budget, and just really looking forward to a situation where I can learn a lot more about municipal government. The land use office is actually in my department, and I love talking to the land use director because he gets to meet with lots of different municipalities, and his experiences are really pretty, sometimes heartwarming, sometimes difficult, all the above. But I'm looking forward to learning as much as I can about city finance. Certainly there's a lot of crossover, but definitely there's going to be a lot to learn as well. So I have big shoes to fill. Thanks for having me here today.
Thanks for coming, appreciate that. Okay.
Peter, when do you start again? Sorry.
June 28th.
June 20th, okay, thanks.
Okay, with that then, entertain motion, we approve the 4 items on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, awesome. There's no public comment online, so we'll move on to item 6. A public hearing to receive and consider comments on the proposed compensation increases for executive municipal officers. I thought I did it, during when he was here. I had that same thought. but- Steve, come on up. No, thank you.
So when's Steve's last day?
I do forget things.
Thank you, Mayor. Just so you're aware, the email situation has already been resolved. So before you tonight, for the first item, this public hearing, something brand new. It is Senate Bill 91. I don't know who these two legislators are. I don't know where they live, but apparently someone in their jurisdiction did something that really ticked them off. So they came
That's
to
how most
the
legislation starts.
So they came to the Legislative Assembly this year and said, we're going to create a new law. And that's what they've done. The basic concept of this is in which all municipalities, maybe special service districts, I don't know, but cities have got to have a public hearing and do a presentation on the compensation schedules of certain employees within their environment. And I've had a number of discussions with colleagues on this as to, okay, how do we do this? And when I was at my state conference in April down in St. George, the Utah League of Cities and Towns was there and did a presentation on this. And they indicated, oddly enough, this is not applicable to elected officials. So, however, depending on how you read it and interpret it, it may be. So what we've done here at South Ogden City is we have presented for you the compensation schedules for all of the positions within the city. And that gives the beginning and ending range for all of those positions. Now, there are specific things within the law that need to be pointed out, and I think I'm going to say on page 2 of the charts that were included in your packet, there should be 3 asterisks. One of them addresses the car allowance that the city manager receives. Another one receives or represents the deferred compensation that is part of the city manager's contract. And then the final one is representing deferred compensation that is applicable to all of the full-time employees in the city, which is generated from the HIPPO area that you are all familiar with, I believe, in regards to our health insurance premium offset. So those things have to be specifically identified in this law. Now, this is the way we are moving forward with it for this year. It's quite possible in the next legislative session, they will change how they want this done, because it is really quite vague. And unless we hear otherwise through them or through a review from the state auditor's office, this is what we have presented. Like I said, it's probably more than the law requires, but we felt, and in conjunction, like I said, with some of the colleagues that I've talked with, that this was deemed to be the better presentation. That way, throughout the year, for example, if one of the positions have to be filled, you don't have to come back to the council and have another public hearing, because you've got the position and the entire range already addressed tonight. So if you have any questions, I will try to answer them.
No, I think more is better, and in the era of transparency, I think this is great.
So, Mayor, have you opened the public hearing?
No,
Okay.
Oh,
but we can talk.
Okay. Can I go ahead and ask
Yes.
the question?
Yeah,
Or wait?
I can't imagine anybody here is going to be involved, so, yeah, go ahead. Councilmember Stewart.
Okay. So, it doesn't have to show the COLA, it just has to show, because these are the step increases, correct?
correct. And the COLA is incorporated in the range for all of the positions.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What's the amount of the COLA then?
Doug, do you know that off the top of your head by chance?
I do. The COLA was 3%, and just so you know that this will have to be done every year, so the pay ranges that we present will incorporate that. So we're not approving the COLA, we're just approving the pay range.
Okay.
So the one that, I mean, that's assuming that you approve that, then that would be incorporated within that. So each year, when this has to be done and we provide a pay range, it will include whatever COLA was applicable. That makes sense?
Okay. All right, let's open a public hearing. Entertain a motion that we, public hearing, receive and consider comments on the proposed compensation increases for executive municipal officers.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll also open that online. We'll give you until 6:33. Just write public comment. Nope, write public hearing, and then your comments as if you were here. Anyone wishing to do that? Okay, entertain a motion then that we close our public hearing for comment on compensation increases for executive municipal officers.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Also entertain a motion that we open a public hearing to receive and consider comments on the following items: amendments to the fiscal year 2024 budget and the proposed fiscal year 2025 acting budget.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're now in a public hearing to receive and consider comments on the item on the fiscal 2024 budget amendments and the 2025 acting budget. Those online who would like to comment, please write public hearing and your comments on those. We'll also give you until 6:34. Mr. Liebersbach, will you come and talk to us about that?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I think we will start first with the budget amendment. As you were reviewing this, you probably thought, oh, well, this is a treat, isn't it? It's quite a lengthy one, but it is also the last opportunity for fiscal year '24 to make any amendments to the existing budget. And in working with the department heads to go through where things are falling into place, this is the end result. I do have to let you know that on page 2 of the amendment, on the third section from the bottom, dealing with Fund 54, the line item that is on your report is 543980, which is the garbage fund appropriation of fund balance. It should actually be 543890. So when you make your motion, please recognize that correction. The first group of items on this are dealing just with South Ogden Days. This is a customary practice because when you get into fiscal year '25 and look at that budget in a few minutes, you'll notice that the only thing that is budgeted there is the $50,000 general fund transfer. And at this point, what Danielle and Doug have done is we've sat down and we have recalculated and estimated the new revenues, for example, all the booth sponsors, et cetera. There was also an additional, well, not an additional, a $15,000 ramp grant that was received for South Ogden Days this year, so that was incorporated in here as well. And then the allocation of all of the expenditures so that everything balances. So that's what that first one is.
So let me interject here for anybody that's online or new. The city's fiscal year, or financial year, runs July 1st to June 30th. So as we're talking the 2024 budget, that's the one that's going to end here in 2 weeks. And the 2025 budget actually starts July 1st. So just a clarification in case anybody watching or listening is confused.
Okay. The next group of items is just recognizing some new revenues for the city, and it covers a wide gamut of things. There is the lease financing. You'll recall maybe about a month ago, the paperwork was signed for that lease with Zions Bank. That is in here. You had also declared 15 vehicles surplus. The proceeds of those traded-in vehicles is in here. And then there's a number of new revenues recognized within the Recreation Department. They've done quite well in a number of the sports programs. But what coincides with that also then is a number of expenditures, and you'll see that on the following page, in which whether it be officials' fees, some of the supplies they need, some of the temporary wages based off of all of the games and events that they are holding. One of the things that has caused those two particular items, whether it be official fees or the temporary wages, is the department has been trying to utilize many of the existing staff to do the officiating. So that, I think, has worked out well for the department and the city financially, because if they have to go out house to get those through some service, it's usually quite a bit more expensive. The second page then, for the most part, just covers a number of additional expenses that will eat up all of that new revenue that we just talked about. Whether it be the council department, planning, police, fire, recreation. I'm not going to go through it line item by line item. If there are specific questions, by all means, shout those out. The latter part of that, when you're looking at the capital outlay, what is being accomplished there is all of the ins and outs of what has taken place with the unified fleet and the Ken Garf arrangement. So in reality, the numbers probably look a little bit worse than they are, because this is just the expenditure side. The revenue side was the sale of fixed assets, or, that we talked about a little while ago, which was like about $725,000. So there's that part. There's the garbage fund addressed there. There's a little bit dealing with the ambulance fund. Those new expenditures that are listed here are all being funded through additional revenues. The fees being collected by the service, Gold Cross, have been coming in higher than initially budgeted. And they do, I think we are maybe in, I'm going to say the third, possibly the fourth year with Gold Cross. They do substantially better collection than the previous service that we had utilized. So it's good to see those numbers continue to go up. And then the very last one is just dealing with the utility enterprise fund. Last year, when the budget was adopted, it's normally set at 6%. It was cut to 3%, and the proceeds were exclusively to go to the parks projects. Well, that wasn't effective until August, when you adopted the budget. So this amount is only representing the July amount of 3%, which goes towards road projects. In the 2025 budget, it's not even applicable, but just the 3% for parks is. So that is the amendment in a nutshell. If you have any questions or need additional explanation, I will try to do so.
Let's hold off on those till we get to the actual consideration of the resolution, if you don't mind.
Nope, that's fine.
Entertain a motion that we close our public hearing on the fiscal year 2024 budget and the 2025 acting budget.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, there were no public hearing comments submitted online. What?
Well, you've closed the public hearing on the 2025 budget. Is that something that you really wanted to do, or not?
Yes,
Okay,
it is.
that's fine with me.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go to discussion action item A, consideration of ordinance 24-04, adopting compensation for executive municipal officers for fiscal year 2025. Steve's explained that to us well. Any further questions on that? All right, entertain a motion that we adopt ordinance 24-04.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Smythe,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Councilmember Howe.
Yes.
Thank you. Item B, consideration of resolution 24-17, approving agreement with LRB Public Finance Advisors for feasibility study for fire district. Mr. Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor. I brought this to your attention a few meetings ago. Excuse me. Since that time, we've met again with the cities involved. That would be Roy, Riverdale, Washington Terrace, and noticed that the original proposal from LRB didn't include Roy. And so we were like, hey, yeah, they're a part of this. And so the scope, for the sake of the proposed price, was increased because, they're a substantial department with a couple of stations. And so the total cost of this, and again, for the public's benefit, this is a feasibility study to look at whether or not it makes sense for South Ogden to join with Washington Terrace, Riverdale, and Roy in the creation of a fire district. The total cost of the feasibility study would be $16,760, with South Ogden City's portion being $5,586.67. I think this will give us a lot of really good information. We had a good kickoff meeting with the consultant to talk about, what was going to be involved. And I think once we get this study in hand, it will provide all of us an opportunity to really just take a look at that and see if there are some economies of scale or benefits to looking at the district, different funding models for a district, different administrative ways to organize and administer a district. So I guess worst case scenario is we spend $5,000 and realize, you know what, I think we're better off just to keep our own department and run that independent of all the other departments. Best case, we find ways to provide better or the same services for less money, and that there's an opportunity to look at that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Dixon, our chief?
I think that's the reason we do these studies and surveys is to analyze what is actually the pros and cons. And here it came out, as Mr. Dixon has indicated, that it's better for us to have our own department, and the expense on it is considerably less in that aspect.
Yeah, it's always good to have outside eyes looking at things too. We get a little too close to the topic sometimes. Okay, entertain a motion then that we approve resolution 24-17. Please.
Can we include in that, it needs a change on date? So it just indicates that this resolution shall be effective on the 4th day of June 2024 and after publication or posting as required by law, passed and adopted on this 4th day of June 2024. So we just need to adjust those. That's on page 27.
Okay, thank you. Entertain a motion that we adopt resolution 24-17 with the changes from June 4th to June 18th.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Councilmember Howe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Smythe?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Liebersbach, there's your break. Item C, consideration of resolution 24-18, amending the fiscal year 2024 budget. And I felt like I had to close the public hearing before we anyway.
That's fine.
Otherwise, they're commenting forever, and we're not sure when they're, so. Go ahead. You've already done.
Oh, I'm done.
24, that's true. Any questions first on the fiscal amending our end-of-year 2024 budget?
No.
Okay, thank you for wrapping up all those loose ends. I'm sure that's chaotic. Entertain a motion that we approve resolution 24-18, amending fiscal year 2024 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Smythe?
Yes.
Councilmember Howe?
Yes.
Thank you. Item D, consideration of Resolution 24-19, approving the fiscal year 2025 acting budget. Mr. Liebersbach.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. On this one, since we just came from our work session, a couple of things I do want to point out as far as what is included in this acting budget as you decide to vote on it and pass it tonight. First of all, the city's compensation and salary guidelines are a part of this, so wages and benefits are incorporated in here going forward for the new fiscal year. Operational expenses, for the most part, through the meetings that we've had with the department heads, have also been included in here. However, some of them may and probably will get tweaked as we move forward through the truth and taxation process and get a finer picture as to what our true revenues will be and our true expenditures are going to be proposed at. There are only a few capital projects in here as far as general fund items. The fire truck, which we talked momentarily about. Also, the skate park is included in this as a general fund project. On the enterprise fund side, in the information that was given out in the packet, there are, I'm going to say, maybe 3 projects in the water and sewer fund, and I think one large one in the storm drain fund that are basically going to be carryover projects. They've been started at this point, and the unspent monies will be moved over. That will also happen in more detail as we continue to go through the process. We will still need to have the discussion in regards to the utility rate structure, if there is any desire to increase those to generate more revenue for some of the projects that have been listed for the next 1 to 3 years. I think that kind of covers it. I mean, in the acting budget, the 4 columns that you have basically for your data is the prior year actual, the current year budget, the year-to-date actuals, and then the proposed budgeted amounts for fiscal year 25. So that's the data that is on these reports. And I believe this report also has a number of budget notes. I can't remember which version I provided.
Yeah, there's a few
or
on
not,
here.
so. But, so that's where we are right now. Obviously, there is still a good deal of work to do in regards to capital equipment, those high-priced items, but that will come here in the near future. So if there's any questions from any of you, I will try to address those at this time.
Councilmember Stewart.
One of the things I noted was it has a note about outside legal counsel going up 17%. Fees are going up 17%, it says. But it doesn't look like that amount went down. And so is it not incorporated?
Which amount went down?
Do you want me to tell you the line?
It's 1040,
1042, 310
okay.
on page 3 of the printout. So it went from 107, 880 to 104, 644. Do you see where I'm looking?
Yes. So initially, when I comprised the tentative budget, I did a 3% cut on all operational expenses. They sent me an email after that. However, as I looked at the expenditures that we've been paying, in a 12-month period, the 104 or 107 should cover it. It's difficult because they are like 3 months behind on their billing. And I've requested and I've let them know that come June 30th, we need to have a final bill within a reasonable timeframe. So as we, again, by the time the final budget is adopted, we will have much better year-to-date expenditures. But you're right, the 17% at this point is not changing the budgeted amount until I'm able to look at, March, April, and May's billings to see how that impacts the overall expenditure. The usage of the attorney is kind of like this. So 1 month, the bill might be $11,000, $12,000. The next month, maybe it's only $4,100. At this point, I've just left it, but I made a note, so that'll be looked at.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So what determines the use of the attorney? If we say 1 month is high and another month is low, what constitutes that?
Well, I'm going to actually let Matt answer that question because the way I look at it for myself as the finance director, I don't send anything or have any contact with the attorney myself. I have a question, I would direct that to Matt, and then if he feels that the attorney needs to be involved, that's his decision, because there again, I don't think that the attorney should receive information from like 6 different people in the city. So I will let Matt take that question and go with it.
You bet. I think primarily it's Lisa and I that send information. Maybe there's a few others at times. Lisa?
My understanding is also the police department uses input quite a bit with grammar requests.
So it does vary. It is up and down. Obviously, grandma requests vary, and so the attorney will review those to decide, is this a public record? Can it be released? What needs to be redacted? Also, Lisa sends contracts. There are some contracts that are routine that we do regularly that have been reviewed by legal before, and those don't go to the attorney because we know what's in there. But any new contract goes through the attorney. Obviously, as well as just any threat or imminent litigation that comes up that we're involved in as a city, that'll be phone calls or emails back and forth. So it does vary just depending on kind of what the demand is and what the need is. Lisa, did you want to add anything?
We used the attorney this morning. We had an appeal hearing, and so the attorney spent some time doing that as well. So.
Yeah. We'll point out that all these totals are lower than what we were paying our full-time attorney by a lot. So.
Well, I could say, there are some pros and cons. We did outsource. And I will say, even with the 17% rate increase, he let us know early this year that, hey, we're going to have to increase our rates. Just for them to stay competitive, they were losing attorneys to other firms. And even with that, it would be hard to find a more affordable civil attorney for our municipality. That's a very reasonable rate when you consider attorney's fees. So.
Do they ever sit in on, say, the courts that we have here?
No, because this is our civil, this is the civil side, and so we have our prosecution side that handles the prosecution work in our justice court, and that's not in this line item. I believe, is that budgeted out of court?
Okay.
Yep.
Other questions?
Mayor, I have just one more.
Please.
On the skate park, do we have a figure on that, or do we know what that amount is going to be?
Yeah, I think the contract bid from Spawn was $1.3 something million. let me see, I have it written here. Yeah, 1394254. The overall budget is 1.5 million because I would imagine there's going to be construction management fees and undoubtedly some engineering fees that go along with that. The funding for that is your remainder, the excess of the ARPA monies left over from the fire truck. You've received a $650,000 ramp grant, a $200,000 outdoor recreation grant, and then the remaining $538,000 is coming from the general fund.
Thank you. Other questions? Steve, thanks. You've been busy. Entertain a motion, we approve resolution 24-19. Now, one of these you asked about a different number. Was that the one before?
It was, I just remembered the budget amendment had to have an adjustment to the motion.
We'll get back to that. Let's finish D here. Entertain a motion that we approve resolution 24-19, approving the fiscal year 2025 acting budget.
So moved.
Second.
Thanks. Further discussion? Councilmember Howe?
Yes.
Councilmember Smythe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you. So just go back and ask for a new resolution with that amendment? Is that the best way to handle just changing some numbers there on one of the accounts, right? It's not even, it's the number for the account, it's not even the dollar number, is it?
Correct, it's the general ledger account number, it's not the dollar amount.
I don't know that it has to be in the motion.
Yeah,
It's
I
just a clerical error, and
Yeah.
we'll just fix
I
it.
think so too.
Works for me.
Thank you so much, Steve. Item E, consideration of resolution 24-20, approving agreement with Staker Parsons for 2024 chip and crack seal project. Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson is
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight, you have our annual chip seal coat project. It is ready to go. They'll get it done by August 31st. They haven't given us a specific date, but they will be in and get it taken care of. There is still a little hiccup from last year that they will get that addressed at the same time over on Monroe. They ran into some chips issue, but we are getting that corrected also from Parsons and the vendor, so. We are going to a standard chip this year instead of the Utilite. There's been some issues there with the Utilite not backing their product, so we're going back to the standard chip at this point, which the engineers did recommend going back that way.
Do we still make it black? Do we still
Yes,
spray it
so
black?
that's what your fog coat is in the contract. It says chip seal. They're supposed to come in, chip seal it with the black, and then sweep it once, and then fog coat it and sweep it again, is how it's supposed to work, so.
Okay. All right. That's how we make them last.
Were you going for like blue and gold or something?
No, the old days, like.
Black and gold.
No, they just.
I throw that out there, black and
No,
gold.
definitely not that.
That's why we do black and yellow
No,
on the
they
roads.
just, they put down these, so you have this beautiful black road. It's bad enough we have to add the chip, so then it would like this dull gray color. You're just like, oh, so at least it stays black.
Black.
Anyway,
It should be black.
It's a little thing.
I'll talk
but
with
it
Ryan and
means a
put that
lot.
request in from the
It means
mayor.
a lot
Say,
to me.
Okay, all right,
No,
I'll put
black
that
is
request
fine.
in.
That's- I'm not trying fancy colors here. I just, oh, there is a light that's purple. Do you know that one? Different story.
Okay.
It's on Monroe. It's purple. It's the coolest thing at night.
Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic. Don't change it. I'm not going to tell you where it is.
I'll find it. I'll have to go look.
It's the coolest purple light in the city.
It is.
All right,
It
I'll go
is.
looking.
Let's have different colored streets.
I think so. I'm all for it. Change it up. Entertained motion, we approve resolution 24-20.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. More second. Any further discussion? All right. Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Smythe?
Yes.
Councilmember Howe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a side question?
Yes.
So that spot that the resident was concerned about is going to be better or no?
Is that on Monroe, is what you're at? Would that be on the Monroe?
I think so. If I drove, I could drive to it, but
Yeah, it will be improved with a chip seal, not for scooter skateboard riding, I believe would be the way to address that. Because I think, when we put it down with the smooth asphalt, all the kids and everybody think, hey, this is great, we've got this nice smooth surface, then we come back in with the chips and it's a little bit more rough. And I think that's where a lot of the issue came in last year. So, but that is kind of in the general area where there's two different types of chips, so it was probably a little more coarse in a couple of spots, but that will be addressed.
well, like it stopped. This lane had it, this lane didn't.
Yeah, like I said, and that's the size of the chips. Yeah, there was,
Okay.
there was a little snafu in there, and that's what's gonna be addressed, so,
Okay.
there, but it will be addressed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item F, consideration of Resolution 24-21, approving a fire protection mutual aid interlocal agreement. Chief West, thank you.
Okay, so I know you probably, we have automatic, we have mutual. So automatic is basically that. A call comes in, units get dispatched automatically. Mutual aid, which this covers, is when an incident gets too big, we have to ask for specific units or be asked to go into wherever. We already currently have a mutual aid agreement. The only difference between what we have now and what this is Morgan County is included now. So our dispatch center does Weaver and Morgan, so it kind of makes sense to include those three jurisdictions up there. The new one that's, I don't even know what it's called. It's in the agreement, though. It's the private ski resort town or whatever. And then Morgan County as well as.
Wasatch Peaks Range.
Okay. So that's the only difference between what we currently have and what this new agreement is, so.
Questions for Chief? Thank you. Entertain a motion we approve Resolution 24-21.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Also roll call. Councilmember Smythe.
Yes.
Councilmember Howe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart.
Yes.
Councilmember Howard.
Yes.
Thank you. Awesome. Item G, approval of amended top priority catalytic projects. Mr. Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor. A few months ago, we held a joint work session with the City Council and the Planning Commission. One of the purposes of that meeting was to review our new general plan that was completed last year. A very good plan, and a part of that plan has some that's called catalytic projects that says, okay, we've got this general plan, we have the vision of what we hope to accomplish. Here are some projects that will help move the community in that direction. And at that meeting, there was some discussion around, let me find it here, let me mention that the Planning Commission had done some work, and they went through and looked at all the catalytic projects and then prioritized them in what they think would be a good order to go by as a council. And at the end of that discussion, it was determined that the priority project was, let's see, get to it here. It was the completion of a small area plan for the city center redevelopment project area. And I think the intent, and I'm going to invite Lisa to join in on the conversation to add anything she might have. And I understand that, I believe the intent of this tonight is just to clarify with the council that you're in agreement that these are the catalytic projects and the priority for the city is this particular project. So that it's clear, again, that was a work session, there was a lot of discussion, and I think we were hoping to just more formally have you as a council indicate, yes, we want to move forward in that direction. Lisa, do you want to add anything, please?
I believe this also took several of the catalytic projects and combined them together as per the discussion. So we just want to make sure it reflected what your intention was.
Thank you.
Page 90 of the packet there is catalytic Project One. Yeah, I think they encapsulated what was brought up that evening very well. And does mix multiple ones from the page above. So,
And this would be work for the Community Development Renewal Agency Board to look at when we talk about a small area plan within the CDRA. I guess what I'm saying, as that moves forward, it would come back to you, not as the city council, but as the CDRA board, as far as a study within the project area.
Comments to the author, Lisa, was that you?
No, Mark Vlasic did that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like it. Okay. Corrections, additions, changes? Feel good about that? Okay.
I like the idea that they prioritize those elements there. One was land use, the other one was shop in South Ogden. That benefits everyone with that aspect there, but it was really helpful to get priority 1, 2, and 3, so we could look at those.
Yeah.
And if I could also point out, with this approval, then staff will go ahead and apply for funding through grants for the studies that need to be done.
Awesome. Is this head nods or do we need a formal vote?
I think just head nods in direction and consensus that, yeah, that we like this and we'll move forward. It doesn't require a formal vote. or
Councilmember
motion.
Stewart?
Thanks, I just was gonna say, I may not have been in the majority. I feel like that the focus should be more on trails and the active transportation. So I'm just making it known.
It does point out transportation also in this study here that we had.
That's true. One of the reasons that I feel that way is that this is not an area that we currently own. And so I feel like we should be focusing on what we own before we go trying to tell somebody that they should do something with their property that we didn't do with our own property when we owned property. Where the senior center was, we could have made a gathering area, but we didn't. So anyway, that's just my opinion.
I think transportation is important there, and I appreciate that. But it also talks about how we can make improvements with transportation that would be using mass transit and how it reflects to our development of South Ogden in this area here, and how we best use our properties to enhance transportation and also the use of people using that to minimize the traffic that we would have.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we do need to add an active transportation is a little different nuance than transportation improvements, if we want to add that or mention that in there and include that where we can as well. I think that's a good idea, Councilmember Stewart. Anybody for adding that? Leave it.
Yeah, I think, I read between the lines and assume that's kind of in there when they talk about grade separated crossings and that kind of stuff, but I certainly think that a small area plan ought to be, especially for city center, should integrate the wheel and spoke of where these trails and stuff are gonna go. So I think we should include something to that effect.
Yeah, under the second bullet, an active transportation, just to,
Is that what you're
even though it
thinking?
is somewhat implied, if we write it out there, it's more visible.
Agree.
Yeah, let's make that a little addition there. I think that's a good
The,
idea.
the trails could be in addition to our community and the quality of life that we have here, so I think that's a benefit in aspects there.
And with the signage, yep, thank you.
And Mayor, if I may just, I appreciate the conversation, and I think it's a good idea to look at, if we're creating a city center, you know, what are the transportation impacts and how do we make it pedestrian friendly and inviting place? So I appreciate that those comments. I guess just to be clear on how this would work, you know, the city would move forward, most likely looking at working with some consultants to come in. We would be inviting property owners to be a part of that process and a part of the discussion. At the end of the day, because it is a redevelopment project area, the city cannot legally force any property owner to do anything with their land. This would have to be a very collaborative effort where we would partner with landowners to say, hey, if you want to come and be partners in this, here's a vision, here's what we'd hope to accomplish, here's how you may benefit by being a part of this. And so I just don't want there to be any sense that the city has any eminent domain power that we would be exercising to force property owners to sell or do anything that they wouldn't want to be a part of. And that may be where the project dies. If the property owners that we're interested in working with say, we're not interested, go away, we'll be right back here to say, okay, what do we
What's
want to
next?
do? What do we want to do? So we are hoping that it would be a collaborative effort with property owners in the city and to figure out how we can make something happen.
If you go to page 90 in the packet, it indicates that the outline of what would actually take place there. It also talks about small places, small areas and that, and it talks about gateway, landmarks, building heights, all these things encompass the opportunity of developing something along those lines there.
Okay, thank you. All right, item H, Mr. Dixon, approval of language for Heritage Trail monuments.
Sorry,
Thank you,
Mayor,
ma'am.
can I just clarify? So you just want the word active added to that second bullet?
Yes, please. No. Heritage Trail, please.
Thank you, Mayor. It's exciting. It's been a long time coming. We're getting closer. I appreciate the work of many committee members and folks who've been engaged in this for a couple of years now. But I want to give you a rundown on where we're at and then some feedback from the committee. And there are some decisions we're looking for direction on from the council. First thing I want to cover is the first two monuments. We didn't necessarily go in order, just based on when the authors were ready with their writings, then we submitted them to the committee. So in the information that, I don't know if I provided this in the packet, but we have a list of monuments, Monument 1 and what's included. Keep in mind, these are three-sided monuments. And so Monument 1 is geology and geography with three different sides. That language has come to you as a council. It's been reviewed, it's been approved. We've sent it to the monument company. They've worked up a mock of the monument. The committee reviewed that yesterday and are going to add an illustration to the monument under Lake Bonneville. There wasn't enough writing to take up much space. It kind of left an awkward empty space at the bottom, so the committee said, let's put a monument, and folks agreed that it would make sense to do that. So that is soon to be finalized and actually have the engravings done. Monument 3, so that's Monument 1. Monument 3 is Trappers and Mountain Men. This came to you as a council as well, has been approved. We've done a mock-up. I made an error and sent the monument company the wrong version of Peter Skeen Ogden, which Dr. Sadler was quick to correct me on, and I appreciate that. So I've resubmitted that. They're going to redo that mock-up and send it to us. Those two monuments will then be ready to be engraved. I need to get with Mr. Anderson and our Parks Department to work with BOTS Monument Company to talk about the foundation, because our folks had agreed that we'll build the foundation for these monuments, and we want to be sure we understand the specifications and what that needs to be. So those are the first two monuments. The second two, we have Monument 2 and Monument 4. Monument 2 is Native Americans. The author is Dr. Gene Sessions. When this came before you as a council last time, there was a question regarding the use of the term Mormons. And as the committee looked at that and had some discussion, so I wanted to go back to the committee and just say, hey, what is the committee's thoughts and recommendation? Ultimately, they recognize you as a council will make the final decision. But the historians in the room were quite adamant about the use of the word Mormon in its historical context is important. And we actually have someone on our committee that works for the LDS Church. And because we're not affiliated with the LDS Church, we're not held by the same standards for monuments. But it was helpful, since that was something that came up, to have that conversation. So the committee's recommendation would be that we continue to use the term Mormon because of the historical context. Back when, I think back when some of this history was written, or when it was happening, Mormons were, that was very common. That was how they referred to members of the LDS Church and others. So that's something that I wanted to bring back to you as a council, just to let you know. If you certainly choose to do something different, then you can do that. The second comment that was brought up last time you reviewed this as a council, that I took back to the committee, was whether or not the reference to time should be BCE, before Common Era, or CE, Common Era, or if it should be BC or AD. And Councilmember Smythe can attest, the committee was split between the academics and the PhDs, who say you cannot read anywhere in academic literature today that doesn't have BCE and CE. That is the agreed terminology in reference to time. They even went so far as to say our students in schools aren't learning BC and AD. I don't know how accurate that is, but so the academics in the room were saying, we think it should be BCE and CE. The rest of the committee members were like, that is so foreign to us, we don't understand it, and the committee was like, okay, council, you get to make the final decision. So let's maybe stop there to talk about the use of the terminology of Mormon and the reference to time, and hopefully make a decision and provide some direction. Because once we have this, we'll make those, whatever changes need to be made, and then we'll submit those to be mocked up. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll stop there for now.
We can go through everybody's opinion. My opinion, particularly with a size word count, that we stay with Mormon on these. I'm sure as we get to more modern day things, we would want to make that adjustment. I actually like the BCE. I think it's educational. I think a lot of this stuff, a lot of people have heard before. It's educational, but I think that would be a good discussion point. I think we go with academics on this, and somebody can learn something new, even if that's all it is they learn. My thoughts. I'm not about to die on that hill. That's not like a
committee member
super
did
passionate
say
about that, but I think
a committee member did say when you Google BCE, it's a stock.
Oh, that's funny. So we shall buy stock in that once we put these up.
Yeah.
Mayor, are we limited to number of words on that?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking if we had Mormon, we could put in parentheses the Church of Jesus Christ, the Latter-day Saints, and I didn't know. Was that also?
That was discussed, and the historians and the authors that are, they do this all the time, said at that time there was no LDS, it was Mormon.
Okay.
So it's a
And the writings
historical
and the journals and-
monument, and it should remain a historical monument.
So we want the monuments to be as historical correct as possible. Is that what we're?
So we want it to be
driving for?
correct, but we want to change the time to the modern terminology.
And wasn't there
There you
was
go.
a young
Good
gen-
compromise.
There was a young student there, and he says, I know BC and AD.
Yeah.
And he was a young kid.
Yeah.
Grandsons were
Hey,
there, so.
Councilmember Howe, to your point, that a committee member raised that to say, well, if we're keeping it in a historical context of use of Mormon, then we should just use BC and AD because that's how it was referred to
Yeah.
then,
That's a
right?
good-
Well, and to Mayor's point, I'm not going to stand on this hill and die there, but
Right, yeah, it's not a-
the thing about it is as historical as it is, that's history. You know, history started at 0 and it came forward and it's the common era. I understand that, but 0 revolved around a date in time and an event in time to change common era. And so I personally think that it should be BC and AD. In fact, if you read through them, anything that's CE doesn't have CE after it except for that one instance. Everything else is, 1849, 1853. They don't even use those defining parameters.
Just on the old stuff.
The only one that I really disagree with, I think it's in there twice as CE, but where it talks about the Shoshone, about 1300 Common Era, and I have a problem with that personally. And like I said, if we're talking historical, we're using Mormons, and these are going to be, bronze plaques or engraved plaques that are historical markers, I think we should use historical terminologies.
Pick your hill.
I tell you how I feel,
I like it.
but I
And actually, I'm on the committee, and I agreed with BC.
I thought I would have a committee too.
Got a
And I
third
would
nod?
say, yeah, I
Oh,
would
on that
say that
committee.
the others don't say common era, like he's pointed out. They don't say 1777 common era or,
Right.
1830 common era. So to me, you're trying to make it, if you want it congruent, you would have it congruent on all of them. They would be,
Right.
you would use the same form on all of them.
My favorite editor has spoken. BC AD.
It
Three
doesn't have
nods.
that either.
Do we have 3 nods?
Yep.
I'm seeing a lot of support. Okay.
I always wondered what Common Era was. I never heard that
Yeah.
until this time.
It shows our age, right?
Yeah.
It's, people started to AD is after, they'd say that's after death, well, then that's a 33-year gap. And so that was where it was an issue. The AD is actually Anno Domini, which is the year of our life. So anyway,
Yep.
but we can go.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever now.
Any other,
AC/DC. Where's John?
any other comments or
AC/DC,
questions
John.
about them?
You awake?
Mayor?
No.
I've got another.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so on the Shoshoneans, I would like somebody else's opinion on this sentence because to me, it does not read well. It says, the Shoshone people dominated the area, but other native groups, included the Nusi or Utes, lived to the south and east. So if I'm reading that, the Shoshone people dominated the area, but other native groups included,
Should it be including?
lived to. It seems to me that something is not quite right there, that it would be including or, I don't know, just if you read through that sentence,
you're
it's a
right.
very long sentence, and
The-
it just kind of, something happens midway where you're like, whoa, what just happened?
The author that wrote that discussed that and explained why it was written like that. It's because of the other entities coming in, where the Shoshones were the main group, and then they could move from one tribe to the other. And so that's why. it was
Shoshone people
written
dominated
that.
the area, but other native groups included the, yeah, I can see how it could work that way too.
Is the question, should it be including?
I just think the phrasing is awkward.
Yeah, okay.
We could chat GPT it.
See what you get.
Yeah.
That would not go over well.
I can
Yeah, I
certainly.
can read it both ways, so
Yeah, I
yeah.
could certainly get with, let's see, who wrote the,
right at them.
This is the Shoshonians.
probably Sessions.
Dr. Sessions. I could go with Dr. Sessions and just say, hey,
Yeah.
are you comfortable with the way that reads? Because it seems a little awkward and just, and the committee, that was something the committee decided was, this, like, there's a lot of opinions, especially amongst historians on, and you're limited to 150 words, like, what should you include, what shouldn't you? So for the sake of having a healthy functioning committee, we had to decide, look, whoever chooses to author that particular piece gets the final word, except for things like, you know, hey, if the council wants to use the full name of the church or BCE. So the committee kind of decided, yeah, that's probably best. If you're going to author it, then you get to make the final decision. But this input is great, and I will take that back to Dr. Sessions to review.
Just
I
let them
will
know
tell
that the
you-
general public thinks it's clunky.
I will tell you
Sorry.
that ChatGPT corrected it rather
Because he's a professor.
poignantly.
That's history.
Okay.
Yeah, it
You wanna
actually looks
email
pretty
that
good. Yeah, I'll copy it. And
Not yet, they
really
will.
keeps the same context. It like uses the word while instead of but. So.
Perfect.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, anything else? No, but you should.
I don't think so. We're getting close. I think I'm going to be reviewing the numbers with Steve, but I'm thinking we're getting close to being able to order perhaps our next, maybe 2 monuments.
Okay, great.
To get us up to 6. And then I think for the sake of budget discussions between now and final budget decisions, whether or not the council wants to allocate any funds for an additional monument. If you want to add a monument this year, I think, well, we should probably round costs up quite a bit given inflation, but we're probably 25 to 30 grand for one of these. But just tuck that away, because we were thinking about it yesterday. Councilmember Smythe and I are talking about, you know what, we're in budget season. If the council wants to add another monument, now would be the time to have that discussion. But we can talk about that.
And I hope they're not
with the
listening, but
budget.
our historians that are our best writers that are really bought into this are not getting any younger. How's that?
No, and we're
I'll say that to their
extremely,
face.
and we're extremely fortunate.
Yeah.
Close
Yeah,
friends
we're
with
extremely
both of
fortunate
them.
to have the individuals we have around that
Yeah.
table. It's
Very knowledgeable.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Mayor. That's all I have on
Okay.
monuments.
All right, Chief West, Chief Story, come on up. We're, item 9, discussion item on adding fire regulations to the city code. Page 97 of your packet.
Fire, not 5.
Fire. All right, adding fire regulations.
Oh, I thought you
I
said
think I just
5.
said it fast.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood, sorry. Sirens, ears. So, there's 3 areas that we'd like to implement. I don't know if you've read my staff report. It's kind of lengthy and boring, I know. Anyway, the first one's the International Fire Code. They rewrite that about every 3 years or so. However, when they have appendices, sometimes those get approved at the state level. So rather than bringing it in front of you every year, if that happens, we just automatically want to update that. That way we're up to date. Knox boxes, I don't know if you know what Knox boxes are. The little boxes outside of buildings that are about this big. They're black. They allow us to use our key to get into a business. That helps for, well, emergencies and in the event that we can't locate the occupant or the owner. It's very expensive to replace one of those doors.
Are those ever broken by other people, though? Is it, those
So our Knox box is specific to South Ogden, so we'd have the only keys
Okay.
for our city. If we want to get into the electronic ones, that's a whole different thing, but
Okay.
as of right now, it's, South Ogden specific.
Question to that point, though, Chief, have you guys experienced them dismantling these Knox boxes and getting the keys that are inside?
Yeah, that's what I was.
And you know, we had it at a dealership one time. I've been in tons of businesses with them, but I had one dealership have it, and they went for a joyride in a Suburban, but
We haven't had any issues in South Ogden, but that's, yeah, Suburbans are pretty
and then
nice.
crashed it. It was awesome.
So, we haven't had that here specifically.
About how many businesses have those boxes?
Not enough. And the goal is to get businesses that have either a fire protection system or multiple businesses within one building. That way, like we said, we don't have to break a door down, because that happened a few years ago up at the communications area up there on Washington, or Harrison and 89. And the door, to replace the door was what, $5,000 or so? These boxes are roughly $350 to $400, $500.
Okay.
And then the last area is the burn regulations. There's a lot of information we can get into that code. Obviously, that's mandated by the state mostly, and it's the air quality division, but.
Do we require the business to buy the Knox box, or we provide it for them?
We will. Yeah, they're expensive. So we kind of want to implement this in 18 to 24 months.
Okay.
But yeah, we're going to try to take bites out of this at a time, but anyway, that's.
The box itself is only $350, $400, something like that, but then there's the install of it to make sure that it's done correctly. You can't just put drywall anchors in and screw them in. So they are rather expensive. That'd be a pretty big cost to the city if we tried to do it.
Significant cost for us. But it's not going to be an overnight thing either. It'll be a new business come in, and then we're going to retro our current businesses. That's the plan. Obviously, it's up to you.
So how many boxes are we looking for?
The buildings that have multiple businesses, or the businesses that have fire suppression.
How many businesses?
I don't know exactly
You don't
how
know
many.
yet. Okay.
Do you have that?
So this year, we're currently going through and adding additional questions and features to our data when we go out and do the inspections that we're doing this year, to collect that, to see what businesses don't have them, what we need to require for. The list that we have from the Knox company who provides these, there's only about 15 to 20 businesses in the city that currently do have them. So there's quite a few that we kind of justify with this, that need them, that may have not received them when they should have, and stuff like that. But we're currently trying to get that number. We're about 100 inspections away from being completed with that right now, to where the crews have been going out and doing those. So hopefully we'll have a number for you, but we just kind of have to analyze it still and kind of go from there. We do know that there's a handful, or quite a few of them, that we would like to have them based on these recommendations and stuff. So
Is that something that we can, and maybe Lisa, this is a question for you. So if we create an ordinance that now requires this for businesses, if it's a safety issue, can we force the business to go out and buy these boxes, or are they grandfathered in because they didn't have them before the ordinance was created?
The answer is we can still require them. Whether it's a good idea to do that or not, it's another question. So because I remember a few years ago, we changed the sign ordinance, and we made it so that people had businesses had 1 year to bring their signs into compliance. They were for electronic signs. So this is something similar. So the answer is yes, we can do it.
And we'd certainly contact legal to work through that if we got to that point, just to be sure we're.
Educating the businesses to know that this is something that would benefit them would help either.
Yeah, that's part of the plan, is installing this is going to save on the back end. And it's going to be a process, obviously. It's just.
Because who pays for those doors? Do we pay? Our insurance pay? They have to pay?
I don't know, who paid for the one up there? I think it was Fire District that actually paid for it, so.
Okay.
Maybe we could see if their fire insurance would go down if they had one.
So Mayor, I think just looking for direction, if there's support from the council to want to have additional consideration of this, or no, not interested, any direction that you might have would be helpful.
any direction on all three. You can say, hey, no, we're not gonna do this now, or,
Yeah, so the idea was actually to incorporate it in our current ordinance, so, and that would take an ordinance at the next meeting, so.
Yeah, I'd be fine for adding all three.
I'm
Just,
fine
you
with
have
all
some
three.
concerns now with the, yeah, we've expressed some things to put in the fine print, I guess, of the Knott's box.
I would feel comfortable with finding out if the businesses would have to contribute to purchase that box, or if we could work out a program where we would pay half and they would pay half of the box expense.
Yeah, we hate unfunded mandates from the state. I feel like we're kind of giving one of these to the businesses a little bit, so that's one part I hesitate.
And we can always, I mean, I'm sure we could look for maybe grants or something that would cover portions of that for coming into compliance, but I think we ought to move forward and at least look at the way the ordinances read and stuff.
Would there be any fire grants that would be
we can certainly
applicable to
search for
this?
'em. We can certainly search for them. We've been actively seeking out others that we've just applied for, what, 3? So,
Okay.
in other areas. But yeah, we can search for them.
Yeah, I think bring back an ordinance next time. Okay, thanks,
Okay,
Chief.
thank you.
Chief. All right, item 10, we do need to meet as a Community Development Renewal Agency Board, so entertain a motion that we leave our council meeting and recess into a Community Development Renewal Agency Board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are now meeting as the South Ogden City Community Development Renewal Agency Board. We use the term CDRA from now on. First item is the consent agenda. It's approval of the June 20th, 2023 CDRA minutes, a year ago. Motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item 3, it's moving to a public hearing to receive and consider comments on the fiscal year 2025 CDRA budget. Entertain a motion moving to that public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Steve, we'll let you come speak for a little bit while that public hearing. Anybody watching online, we'll give you until Steve finishes to make your comments.
All right, thank you, Board President. The CDRA budget is pretty simple and straightforward. You only have 2 active project areas anymore, the Mazda Auto Mall and then the City Center project area. So before you this evening is just to adopt the budget that addresses those two areas.
Questions for Steve on those? Okay, entertain a motion that we close our public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, consideration of CDRA Resolution 24-01, approving the fiscal year 2025 CDRA budget. Entertain a motion that we approve Resolution 24-01.
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second. Any further discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Board Member Stewart?
Yes.
Board Member Howard?
Yes.
Board Member Smythe?
Yes.
Board Member Stevens?
Yes.
Board Member Howe?
Yes.
Thank you. Entertain a motion that we adjourn our CDRA board meeting and reconvene as a city council.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, reports direction to the city manager. Councilmember Howard.
I'm going to pass today. Just
Council-
looking forward to South Ogden Days. Thanks for all your work.
Yeah.
Councilmember Stewart.
I'll pass today, too.
Councilmember Howe.
The only question I had for Matt was in response to that email regarding the response from Ken Garf. Did we did we then forfeit that equity position? That didn't sound like that's, the way that email response was formulated didn't sound like that was an option for us. So, I just don't know if that changed anything on that end. That's all I had.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevens.
I don't have any items for the city manager at the present time.
Councilmember Smythe.
Oh, pass this time?
Mr. Dixon.
I'm nervous to say something now.
No, they
Let's
gave you
go.
extra, they gave you extra time.
They gave me extra time. I don't have a lot to report. I will say, super excited about South Ogden Days and getting the community together and being out there. Appreciate Danielle's been amazing to just step in and just move right along. It's been wonderful. Let's see, I did have, we did receive I think we've let this group know, Doug, is that right, of your intended resignation?
Retirement.
Retirement in July, and we do have some interviews, so the job was posted a week and a half ago or so, and we have some interviews coming up next Monday with about a half a dozen folks, and we'll be working through that as well. So a lot of change, but yeah, I just appreciate Steve and Doug willing to stay on and help with the transition and make things smooth, as smooth as possible. Mayor, I think that's all I have. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'm sorry. I too want to thank Donnell for helping out with South Ogden Days. And I also want to thank my fellow council members for signing up for the donation drive that we have both on Friday and Saturday. Whatever is collected will go directly to the Catholic services, and I think that's a worthwhile project to instigate in there. But Donnell has been extremely helpful in that, and I appreciate all the efforts there, and also my fellow council members for contributing the time to be there to thank those who contribute to the South Ogden donation drive.
And I might sign up on Saturday. I haven't looked at my schedule. I have to MC some things on Saturday. I have some obligations, but I probably can help on earlier Saturday for that. So Ogden City every year has it's called Ogden City Partners. It's a golf tournament where they bring in different people. Mr. Dixon and I get invited to that. And in years past, probably the last 3 or 4 years, he and I have been on the same team, and we haven't done too well. But this year they split us up, and my team took second. So I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't know if that's causation or just coincidence, but I don't know, Councilmember Blair's back hurt from carrying me the whole time, but I did hit a couple eagle putts, so we took second. It was
Mayor,
good
if I might, early on in my career, best career advice I had is never golf better than the mayor. So I golf incredibly well when I'm not with you, Mayor.
Yes, true.
Just
I
kidding.
know.
I was going to say, I don't believe it.
Just save it up. So that's always good, and I think it helps with our relationship with Ogden City, and they've helped us in the past, and that will continue. And yeah, this weekend, make sure you show up at the parade on time. Grab a box of candy before you leave. Starts at 9. Mr. Gailey, what time would you like the council to line up by?
8:58.
Okay. So there'll be the honor guard, the fire and police to start us, and then we'll just go myself and then the 5 of you right after in seniority. If you don't know, that's Stewart, Howard, Smythe, Stevens, and Howe.
Right.
Is that, are we meeting at?
On the road by
someplace?
the seminary,
By
Yeah.
the seminary building?
right across, yep, the street in front of the seminary
By the
building.
cows.
Is where
By
we'll
the
line up
cows?
for
Go
that.
park by the cows.
Yep.
We'll ride one.
Stevenson's fence.
And if you throw candy, get it to the curb. Get it to the gutter. Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah, it's just right out there. Yeah. Is there 6 bags? Okay, except for Mike had a pocket full of wrappers. Okay. Last chance, okay. We're now going to leave our council meeting and recess into a closed executive session to discuss character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual. So the council and, we can stay in here? Does that work? Turn everything off? We used to have a room to go to.
Shut the door.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a rec room now.
Yeah. Okay. We've been in there until that lawyer's office. There's seats in there.
You're welcome to go
Yeah. Okay. It's not recorded. I just need to tell you what time we adjourned and by whom the motions were made. That's what I usually do.
Yeah, so you have to
Close this meeting.
close the meeting
Right.
and go back into the public meeting and then close it. So, yes.
No, we don't record.
Really, you should come back and get it.
Okay.
This last one, and then-
We might just stay in here. Let's turn our microphones off. Okay. Okay. All right, entertain a motion then that we leave our council meeting and recess into a closed executive session.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.